Hi, we are going to create the HTML code and some associated CSS style in order to create HTML forms. Okay, HTML forms incredibly important part of web design. Quite often, if you want to sign up or if you want to sign in, check your email, for example, these are all using HTML forms. So we've got text boxes, radio buttons, selection lists, text areas, submit buttons, reset buttons if you want to attach a file. How do we do all this? We use HTML form elements. Okay, so these are the individual form elements and they're all part of what's called a HTML form. Okay, so we're going to learn about the HTML involved in all this, what properties of each of these HTML tags we're going to use, and then learn about some useful styles that allow us to format our form. Okay, so we're going to look at an exhaustive example here. We're going to give you more code than you'll probably ever use, okay, but at least you can look back when you've worked through this set of videos. You will be able to say, okay, I've got an exhaustive, if you like, a core reference here for a HTML form. And then the trick when it actually comes to using a form is to, if you like, less is more. Okay, you're not going to use all this code, but you are going to use some of it. And at least you'll be in a position to say, I'm not going to use those form elements, I'm going to use other form elements, and other ones that you've already looked through. So you get an exhaustive grounding in HTML forms and form elements in this series of videos. Okay, so form elements, text boxes, radio buttons, and so on. Sometimes with a form element, the user will type in their own value. For example, your first name, your email address, your error code, and so on. Okay, sometimes the user will pick pre-coded, pre-hard-coded data. For example, you're filling out your address, you want to pick a county. The counties could already be in there as a selection list. Okay, and that stops the user from typing the county name incorrectly. And you might want to pick, say, a date as well. So you don't want someone picking the 30th of February. Okay, you don't want someone typing that in. So you will use a date form element in order to limit what the user can pick. So the user is going to be typing in their own information, picking data that's pre-selected. And all the time we need to be thinking about here is how do we make it really difficult for the user to input invalid information, such as the 30th of February. Okay, such as leaving your username blank, such as not putting in a password. Okay, so we're going to look at all these issues involved with form design, and we're also going to learn a little bit about how to style. How, for example, do we get the username, password, selection list, and so on. All of these form elements starting directly underneath each other. Okay, how do we break up a form so that we can have sort of boxes with maybe all the name and address in one box, and email and phone number maybe in another box, and so on. Okay, so that is the plan. That's what we're going to do. So the resources are in Moodle. We've got our PDF here, Introduction to Forms. So I'm going to work through it and show you what the code should look like, and show you what it should look like both code-wise and when we actually run it in the browser. Okay, so for example, we're going to create a web page. Okay, then look at the properties of some of these form elements, and just become experts at forms. Okay, there is a good bit of code involved here. If we look at the resources, let me just show you what else is in the resources. If we make it available here, okay, instructions are there. I'm giving you a JPEG of the code, so you're going to need to type all this. Okay, which is, yeah, it's time consuming, there's no doubt about it, but you will learn how to create any form element that you need. Okay, so it is time consuming, so you know, I'd say try and get that done as soon as possible. Okay, because it's a one-off web page, we are going to put the style just inside the style tag. Okay, we could do that if we wanted. So it's just a one-off web page for this. When we've completed the example, what I want you to do then is to create another web page for the Ring of Gullion. Okay, so put it in the Ring of Gullion folder. I think it's called contact.html. There's more details about that towards the end of the PDF. Okay, so it'll pick up the usual banner image, the nav, the footer, and so on. We put the form then in the article area. Okay, so I'll also, okay, there's a JPEG to show you what the page looks like once we have the basic HTML in. Okay, so this is just after the HTML, and then what we're going to be doing is we're going to add in some more properties into the HTML form element tags, and then we're going to add some style. Okay, so what are we going to have here? We're going to have text boxes. We are going to have email text boxes. We're going to be able to pick the date and time, and so on. In fact, let me just show you this in the browser itself. Here we go here. Okay, so for example, in there, you're getting an error message there, automatically generated. So there has to be an @ in there. So we can have email text boxes. We can have number text boxes. Okay, it doesn't like that. Let me come back in here. And sorry, it's sending me somewhere else. Okay, because we can do that when we click on the submit button. What else we got? Checkboxes, multi-line text boxes called text area, selection lists, radio buttons, and these have to work essentially as a unit, so only one of them can be picked. Okay, whereas with checkboxes, they're all independent of each other. Good rule of thumb, try not to use a checkbox if you can get away with it, unless you only have one of them, I think, on its own. Okay, and then there are more rarely used form elements, like these sort of progress here, or meters down here. Okay, color as well, rarely used. Yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so create a form. How do these form elements work? These are the ones we'll be looking at. And then the various properties or values of these form elements. You can put in a default value. What type of form element is it? What we'll find is that a lot, if not most, of the form elements can be created using just the input tag. Okay, we can have input type equals text, input type equals number, input type equals email, input type equals radio, input type equals checkbox, input type equals submit, input type equals reset, and so on. Okay, so type becomes very important. Placeholder, default text that appears before you start typing in a text box. Required, the submit button won't work until you've typed something in there. Autofocus, when you load up the web page, the cursor is automatically blinking in one of the text boxes. Size, how many pixels does it take up on screen? Max length, how many characters can you type in, and so on. Okay, typically with a form, we click the submit button. We either want to go to a new web page, and that new web page might involve inserting information into a database, a new record in a database table, or we might want to generate an email. Okay, so we will look at those, and then finally we're going to create a Ring of Gullion web page called contact.html. Okay, so form elements, this term is very important. What are form elements? just the tags that inside a form that are specific to the functioning of the form. That sounds very elaborate, but all it means is that, you know, we're going to have a tag to create text box, tags to create radio buttons, tags to create drop-down lists, and so on. Okay, these are all called form elements. The various bits and things inside a form. Okay, so sorry, I'm afraid there's quite a bit of HTML text to type. Okay, so what are you going to do here? Create a web page called formintro.html. So as usual, start off with your template from Moodle. Type in the code. It should look like this screenshot. Sorry, the code. You can get the code from that screenshot there in the resources, and then the web page should look like this. Okay, I can't very well host it for you because all you have to do then is right click view page source and copy all the code. So where's the fun in that, huh? And then because it's a one-off page, we're just going to add the CSS inside the head tag. Okay, more information on W3 Schools. Okay, so at the end of page 4, where should you be code-wise? Okay, you'll have spent a lot of time typing in. And let me just go through the code. What have we got here? Just the title. We're going to have some little bit of style. And let me just talk about where that's been applied. That's been applied here. Okay, see the little red star there? Okay, and the idea here is that these are mandatory fields. Okay, so it's going to be required of you that the user that something is typed in here. Okay, so I am just giving all these stars the class embolden. Okay, so let's double click that. You can see it there. Okay, so span, it's a span tag, and remember a span tag goes around a small part of text. Okay, class equals embolden. What do we want? Bold text with a red color. Okay, so let's look at our code here. There's a form tag. I'm giving it an ID and a name. Why? Okay, tune in later on. Okay, there's no real need for that at the moment, but that will be very, very important. If you were going to run some JavaScript on this web page, we often use the ID as a key for using JavaScript, and B, if we want to take all the information from the form when we click the submit button, insert it into a database. The form name becomes important for that. Okay, action. What happens when we click the submit button? Okay, we are going to go to RTE. Okay, we're not at the stage yet where we can insert this information into a database yet. So I'm just going to say, when it's all done, we're going to go to RTE. Okay, let me come down to the bottom of the form tag. You can see there's a lot of tags in here. What have we got towards the bottom? Okay, we've got a submit button. Okay, type equals submit. Just watch, if I pick on input, you can see input highlights a lot. Okay, there are a lot of input tags. Type equals submit. Value what appears on the button in the web page. Okay, I'm then adding in HTML special character for space, just to make a good bit of space between the two buttons. So the submit, and then there's type equals reset, which is a reset button. And then the value is what appears on the button. Okay, so you can see there, submit application, reset the web page form. Okay, I'll stop there and then we'll look at the form elements in the next video.